So, Julie,
Yes.
there are two big concepts that
Okay.
we are going to unpack, which are register and genre.
Yeah.
And so I've gone ahead and I've looked it up because I don't want to get it wrong. But I want you to guide my thinking for how I can be thinking about register and genre. So register, it refers to the language choices that we make within a situation. And so the register changes depending on the field, what is happening, the tenor, who is involved in the relationship, and the mode, whether the language is spoken or written and how it functions. So register really answers the question of how is language being used here. Genre, based on AI, refers to the type of text and its social purpose. And so genre is shaped by shared expectations about the purpose and structure, the typical stages or sections. So examples of genre are a science report, a narrative, a procedure, and it answers the question of what kind of text is this trying to be and why. So my question to you is, why is that so important?
Yes. Why is it so important? Okay. I'm trying to just think about my grad students. Genre is not often a problem. Most of our students understand that different genres use language differently. That's okay. But even at that level, not many students understand how language actually operates in a particular genre. So we know these things intuitively, but we don't know them explicitly. And if you're going to be a teacher, you need to know it explicitly. Okay. So that's the first thing. Register, right? So you talked about the field, tenor, and mode. So the appropriacy of language, right? Like, what are the kind of things that we need to know when we are operating in those genres or those contexts? I think something that I'm thinking of is when I'm thinking about register and genre, especially in my profession, is the kinds of emails that I might get from students who ask me to be their potential supervisor. So there are a lot of PhD students who want to become PhD students, who are looking for supervisors and sending out emails. Now, we don't get to ever see their faces. All we see is sometimes their CV, a proposal, and obviously their email cover letter, right? And I could easily get like 5 or 6 of these a day, and they come from all over the world. And it's very competitive to apply for these things and to support students, because often universities don't have enough, spaces for every student. So maybe in about 100 applications, I might contact one person, and this is all just done through their words, their written words. Okay.
But I have a question.
Yeah.
Like, how is it that their contact, that their written contact can come off as inappropriate? Like, I can't fathom that would happen, because I assume that these are, professional students who, know how to write an email and who, are seeking support. And so therefore they can navigate the asking of that in a very respectful way. I guess, how is that possible?
Okay. I'm just trying to pull up a few maybe examples to give you. All right. Let's have a look, because I collect these, not because I want to expose anybody, but just because they come into my inbox. Okay. So we could just look at a few. I'm not going to name any names or anything like that, but I'll tell you, like, I look at this formal email, and probably sometimes in the first 10 seconds or in the first 3 seconds, or sometimes in the first 30 seconds, I will make a decision as to whether I'm going to open up these CVs and do all these, other things that require my time. Okay, so let's look at this one. For instance, here's one that says, "Dear Associate Professor Julie Choi, I hope this message finds you well, and I am writing to respectfully request your permission to supervise my proposed graduate research at the Faculty of Education. What do you think? What do you think? About this sentence here. This is the one where my eyebrows were raised a little bit. I am writing to respectfully request your permission to supervise my proposed graduate research.
You need permission?
Okay, right? Okay, so the permission, right? Requesting your permission, that frames supervision as something that the student needs authorization for. That's not what this game is about, right?
So are we saying that in register that the word using that word is not right in this field?
Yes, that's right. Well, at least that's how it felt for me.
Yeah.
The respectfully request. It makes this. What do you think about this?
I didn't realize that you need to respectfully request something. The word respectfully is
The way I would put it is that it's unnecessary hedging.
Yeah.
Okay. So the respect is already implied by the act of writing professionally. As you said, they're all writing professionally anyway.
Using an honorific.
Yeah. So stating the obvious in a sense is, or explicitly like that, I get this kind of feeling that this person is anxious, or that this is very formulaic. And the first impression that somebody should be making is not like that. And see, even in a word that seems, highly polite, the reader is making sense of it in their own way. We read all the tone and all of that based on the genre, right? It's like if this was something else, I don't know, maybe it would be completely okay. But in this context and in a context where I'm getting like 5 a day and I'm reading through just the cover letters, you have to make very fast decisions about whether or not you're going to support this, or you're going to go and contact the student. So I think that's one example. I might even just pull up another one here. I hope you're doing well. I am writing to you as an interested doctoral candidate. I have a master's background and a strong research interest in educational linguistics, second language acquisition, and multilingual identity development. Okay, all great, because those are all my areas. So maybe you know something a little bit about me. That's a good sign. I am highly interested in your distinguished work in additional languages, particularly your research on translanguaging, culturally sustaining pedagogies, and the role of Arts-Rich Translanguaging Lab. Hey, that's great, but something about that seems pretty formulaic to me too. And you can easily get this kind of keywords through my website, so you don't really have to know my work to be able to do that. So even though you identified my areas of work, I'm guessing that this is not genuine for whatever reason that I have. Okay, so my scholarly focus on L2 writing proficiency aligns perfectly with your work on leveraging students' full linguistic repertoire. Well, what do you think about that? I want to ask you on this one. My scholarly focus on L2 writing proficiency aligns perfectly with your work on leveraging students' full linguistic repertoires.
Who gets to decide the alignment here? But I think also the relationship, like you have to remember that there is distance in the relationship and you don't have a pre-established relationship where you can talk in that way. I think the understanding of the tenor is a bit off here in terms of the register. Yeah.
So, and you're picking it up, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a nuance to these words, even though they're grammatically all right.
That's right.
There's nothing wrong. And it's not rude. It's like, oh, what's the relationship between us?
I get it.
Yeah. Now. And so you make these decisions for me. That is perfectly aligned. Okay. L2 writing proficiency is not really my thing. So I don't know why you say it's perfectly aligned. Okay. And then so he goes on to, or he or she goes on to talking about his or her approach. It says, my project employs a mixed methods approach to investigate the effectiveness of blah, 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 blah. Stop right there. Mixed methods, that's not my approach. So can't do this, okay? And then I read on, this study directly relates to your current research on the beyond blah, blah, blah. Okay. Again, you've made the decision for me, that it directly relates to my research. I don't like these ways that people are positioning, them as the people who, can tell me what it relates to, what doesn't relate to. This is directly related to your work or not. Okay, so I have attached my CV and research plan for your review. Would you be open to discussing my potential research project and supervision possibilities at your convenience? Hey, so see, at the end of the day, there's actually nothing wrong with it. But in this instance, the idea that, our work aligns, I'm not convinced. It looks like a string of things that you kind of maybe pulled together just from a website. And I don't like the fact that you make these decisions for me. And what will you be like as a PhD student? Will you be telling me what to do? Like,
wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So, those tensions, like you think, I'm not gonna do this.
But I think for me, like listening you take me through that example, I'm realizing that if you don't have that understanding of register, like you can write perfectly in the genre, hit all the right notes, but that nuanced understanding of register, of what the relationship is, and how that informs what you've written, you can come across as like really pushy, despite really good intentions of trying to seek out a supervisor. But I think voice is making this whole concept of voice and of register and genre, it's making me think about how the other person receives your message, about the coherence, how they tie it together as well.
And the cohesion and coherence is actually there, but now we're getting into tone, nuance, and definitely, you can't predict you can't control. You can control as much as possible the message you want to send out in the way you want yourself to be perceived. But you can't control how the reader is going to take that, right? So that's the time when I feel most when, how important register and genre is, and how, like, it's the first question you asked. You said, but how is it? Like, isn't it just pro forma? Like, you write a professional letter and you put it out there. And these days, right, like, you could just get AI to do it. But the other problem with AI, and I get a lot of these too, is it's just like absolutely perfect text, right? But you got no character. There's no personality in here. And that makes me think that this was AI generated. And if you are a person who has to generate things to AI for that one very important email that you need to send because you only have one chance to do this, then that means you're not confident. So that tells me something about your personality, about who you are, and you're not ready for this. So that doesn't work either. Okay, so register is hugely important. You will see all of those features of cohesion, coherence in there. Your sentence is grammatically correct. You can be polite and overly polite, but all of those things at the end of the day, it's not that simple. You can have all of that, and yet there are layers of things that you have to consider in language to really hit the note. Okay, so let's just end off with one more example that maybe is a good example, and one where I did go and contact the student. So this student says, Dear Professor Julie Choi, I hope this message finds you well. Seems that a lot of people say, I hope this message finds you well. So my name is blah, blah, and I'm currently pursuing a master's in international education at this university with a GPA of blah, blah. I have long admired your research on art-switch translanguaging pedagogy, community-based learning, and I am writing to express my interest in pursuing a PhD under your supervision at the University of Melbourne. Oh, that sounds pretty decent. Like, yeah, I'm writing to express my interests. I'm not like gushing over you or, yeah, and you've long admired it. That's nice. That's a nice thing. Right?
You can tell that that's an understanding of build and tenor of the relationship of, obviously you're hierarchical, but we're not close. You don't know me, but I've been following your work for a while.
Correct. Now she goes on to the next paragraph to tell me about her master's thesis and also the places that she's done the study and some work experience that she's had. Like it's a summary, but the summary is also not just description. She's saying that I worked in Shanghai for a while. I traveled to Germany to do this. I did these things. And that's kind of attractive because, we want PhD students who have seen the world, have all this like work experience and are not coming in, completely brand new to all of this. Okay, great. And then her next paragraph works into the ARTP lab, which is my lab. And she says, I was inspired by your recent article in the collaboratively published children's book, which exemplifies how multilingual learners can integrate their languages and multimodal resources. Okay, so you have read it. And the next sentence goes on to say that she sees strong parallels with her projects in Shanghai and Germany. Okay, so you bring it right back to your work, which tells me you're not just reading my work and admiring it, but you're seeing the connections between your work and my work, and together we'll probably do even greater work. And that's why you want me as your potential supervisor. Fantastic. So then she says, I aim to integrate my practical experience with rigorous research to develop evidence-based multimodal curricula for multilingual learners. Okay, so you have this practical experience, but what you don't have is a lot of research experience. So you need this, and that's right for the genre because a PhD is about doing more research. Okay, so attached is my CV for your consideration. I am committed to the sustained effort required for a PhD. Great. And blah, blah, blah. I would be grateful for the opportunity to discuss potential PhD supervision with you. Thank you for your consideration. Great.
It's all the notes.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a long email, but it does enough work in there without like massively overly cushy things like super overly polite stuff. It just does the work that it's supposed to do, which is to go, who is this person? Even if I had 15 minutes with this person, just interviewing the person, that would not be a waste of time because I need to know who this person is. Okay, so yes, this is a person that I contacted, and you can tell like every single sentence, every single word is communicating something to me about this person. And I have met the person now, and I have to say that I made the right decision.
So good. Well, thank you, Julie. That was, very insightful and informative for thinking about register and genre very practically.
Right.